here and welcome back to my channel. How are you guys doing? I hope you all are doing super duper well. Guys, oh, that was kind of gross. Let me just, hold on. Guys, I am back at you with another video, and this time it is a story time. It is a long-awaited story time. I have been waiting to feel very ranty for this story time because I wanted to do this justice. I did not want to forget a single detail, and I also wanted to just express the amount of frustration and like hatred that I had on these days that I'm about to just lay out everything for you in the way that they actually happened. But before we get into that, you guys know what to do. If you are new here and are just seeing my face now, hello, I am Dingle. It is so nice to meet you. I would love it if you smash the subscribe button down below so that we can spend some more time together. And everybody, if you guys could give this video a big thumbs up, that would help me out a lot, and it lets me know that you like this type of video. So go ahead and do that, and I will bring you some more story times of my life. I think that's all the announcements that I have to make, so let's get into the story. So what's the date today? It is the 19th. So we've been back from Italy for like 3 or so weeks now, I want to say. But this story doesn't have to do with anything that like happened in between in Italy. There's definitely a few story times there, but this has to do with the very start of our Italian honeymoon and the very end of our Italian honeymoon. It has to do with the airline that we chose to put ourselves on, put our trust in to get us from point A to point B without any like snafus or anything. That's, you know, their job. For legal reasons, I don't know, I'm just like not a lawyer or anything, but you know, just to be safe, I'm not gonna name the specific airline in this video, but they may or may not rhyme with the words Cap Portugal. I'm just, you know, just throwing it out there, just throwing it out there. So when I was looking at airlines to fly over to Italy and back, I was looking for like not rinky-dinky ones or like ones that just didn't seem to have like a good website, or just like smaller ones, because this is our first time that we really did fly internationally like by ourselves. So like I wasn't about to risk it with something like that, but I also didn't want to break the bank completely, you know what I'm saying? So I went with one that was in partnership with a major airline that's in the US. Like book the whole reservation together. Like you would fly from like one end of the US to the other and then jump on this international partnered airline to get from like the other side to like Europe, that side of things. So this one seems legit. The prices weren't super cheap where it was like skeptical, but they also weren't super expensive where it was like, I can't really do that. I felt good about it. The website was very intuitive. They sent a lot of confirmation emails. There was update emails. There was like all that fun stuff. Like I had no reservations about this airline when we booked. So we get on the first flight, which is the domestic flight, and that went totally fine. We flew from Seattle to Boston, and then from Boston we would then go to Portugal to then take us to Italy. That's the itinerary right there. So the flight from Seattle to Boston went completely fine. It was in a domestic airline and everything was good. We've taken that flight a bunch of times. So there were two things when we got to Boston that I was a little worried about, but I knew I would just kind of like figure it out or ask the agent of the international partnered flight, the Cap Portugal international flight people. One of them was that since we are switching airlines from a domestic one to an international one, we had to get our bags in Boston and like exit the whole airport thing to recheck ourselves in with the new airline. I was kind of worried about that. I wasn't sure where our bags would necessarily be, but that went really smoothly. We literally just exited the airport like we normally would, get our bags at baggage claim, and then just circle back around to enter the Boston airport with our bags to then check in at our other international airline desk thing. The other thing that I was concerned about was our flight from Boston to Portugal seemed fine. However, there was a tiny window of time, it seemed like to me. There was like an hour or even less that we would have to get on our flight that lands in Portugal, but then get on our flight to Italy. There was a very small connection time, and I wasn't sure if we had to go through customs when we get to Portugal, or we would just have to get on another flight and then we would just do customs when we get to Italy. So I didn't know if an hour was enough to do that if we had to go through customs. But we get to the counter and I immediately ask, hey, is there another flight that we can get on later that leaves from Portugal to get to Italy, because I'm not sure we're gonna make it. The person at the counter says,
nope, you're totally fine. You won't have to go through actual customs until you get to Italy. There's just going to be a check when you get to Portugal and you will be on your next flight. There's even an expedite expedited line for you. When you get there, you'll make your flight.
That becomes very important later. Hold on to that one. So that does make me feel better. Okay, that's fine. So as she's checking us in, I'm just asking questions. You know, I haven't flown internationally before. I'm asking questions of these things. She's putting my mind at ease. I feel great. She asked for us to put our bags onto the little weigh thing, and she is then printing out the new bag passes because we are now taking the bags from Boston to Portugal. And how the check-in counters were laid out is that you have like a person at each computer, just like every other airline, and then there was a person behind the counter taking the bags that had the tags on them and putting them on the conveyor belt to go to wherever the tags take them to get to the final destination. Very standard, something we've seen before in the past, didn't even think anything of it, shouldn't have thought anything of it, totally fine. So we're talking to the lady, she's, you know, printing out the new bag passes, she's, you know, giving us answers to the questions we had, and I felt really good about it. She asked us to put our bags onto the weigh thing so that she can see how much they weigh, etc. She then takes Jack's old bag tag off that said from Seattle to Boston, and then puts the new tag on that now says Boston to Portugal, because that is where our bags are now going. She then asked for my bag to be put on the thing, which is great. I put my bag on the thing. It weighs fine. She takes the bag and puts it behind the counter, and she's printing my new bag tag that says to go from Boston to Portugal. She's chatting, she's doing her thing, and then she takes my bag tag, she turns, and she does one of these things. My heart kind of flutters. It gets a little nervous, but at the same time I do one of those nervous laughs like, haha, where's my bag? Where'd it go? She then turns to the child that was in charge of putting the bags on the belt to go through the thing to get to the destination that the tags say they should go to. And she goes,
"Did you just put that bag on the belt?"
He looks around and she said,
"It didn't have the right tag on it."
She's holding my new tag. The old tag that said to go to Boston was still on my bag. The kid, the child, he couldn't have been more than like, I don't even know the legal age of like working. Like he was so young. He looks around, looks down towards the thing, goes, like smirks, like literally does like one of these like, wasn't me, oh well, what are you gonna do? And she goes,
"We have to get that bag."
They both take off running down that little tarmac thing to catch my bag. I don't see where they go. I don't see if they've got it, but they come back walking down the tarmac thingy without my bag. No bag in their hand. None. I'm not super nervous at this point. I'm kind of like sort of nervous laughing, but I'm like, how far could the bag go? It literally went into that, like, you know, no concern, whatever. But I do nervously say, okay, so you're gonna go get that bag and we're gonna bring it to Portugal, because I'm at this point not very happy. I'm like, you know, but I'm not that mean about it. Like I'm not that type of person that gets really up in people's faces if they mess up, or I'm not really that complain to customer service type of person. I've just never been that way. I kind of just let things go. I just don't like other people being like rude to other humans, you know what I'm saying? So the woman that was helping us behind the counter calls over somebody and says,
"Hey, there's a bag. It has the wrong tag on it. We need it so I can put the right tag on it."
She's very like protocol, like she's putting my mind at ease, and the guy looks at me, obviously sees that I'm a little nervous about the situation, goes,
"It'll take me 3 minutes. I'm gonna go find the bag."
He puts on one of those vest things that lets him get in all the restricted areas. He asked me for a picture. I don't have a photo of the bag or anything, but I describe it. It's a really big bag and it's dark green, etc. He's gone for about 10 minutes, and at this point I truly am starting to lose trust, and I do lose trust pretty easily. My mind does go to worst case scenario most of the time. I know that's a shocker. I'm very positive as a human being, but I have a lot of trouble trusting people with things that like I can't control. So when he's not back in 10 minutes, I decide to look at my phone, and I look at Jack, and we make a decision that in 30 minutes time, we definitely need to step through those gates. With or without the bag, we have to get on our flight. But also in our minds, we're like, it can't possibly take 30 minutes. He said it would take 3 minutes. What's happening? The guy comes back 16 minutes later. I remember this. 16 minutes later, without the bag. Asks me what color the bag is again. I tell him. He says,
"Okay, I've checked in these 2 places. There's a 3rd place I'm gonna check, and I will be right back."
I've definitely lost all trust at this point. In the time that he is gone, I definitely shed a tear or two. I do start to panic because let me tell you what was in that bag. In that bag, and you guys saw what I packed in that bag if you tuned into my packing live stream that I did the night before. There were like 5 or 6 dresses, all from different brands, but definitely not the cheapest dresses in the world. Shorts, shirts, 3 pairs of shoes, all of my makeup, a laptop computer, and the stuffed animal that I have had since I was like 5. This is Cinnamon. I've had him since I was 5. He is truly my security blanket. And out of all of the monetary items that I could like place in that bag, this one had no value. Like, you can't put a value on Cinnamon, okay? To say I started to panic was an understatement. So the guy does not come back. We do not see this guy again. We go up to the lady of the counter and I stress to her with tears in my eyes that she needs to find this bag. It is extremely important to me and I am so upset at the child behind the counter and how Cap Tortugal has kicked off my honeymoon, which is a big deal. Again, I don't complain about things and I don't get up in people's faces. I wasn't up in her face, but I was very stern and I was extremely unhappy and I made that very clear. So we go through security. I'm now trying to alter my state of mind. I'm like, you know, if that laptop's gone, that's okay. I backed up the files here before I left. You know, if the clothes are gone, it's okay. We're just going to file a reimbursement for everything in the bag. You know, it's fine. But it's just like a looming thing over my mind. I had to get on that flight knowing that my bag was not found, knowing that there wasn't really like a process per se of like how I was going to find it. They just said,
if you get to your final destination in Florence, Italy, and the bag isn't there, you can file a report.
Fine, whatever. Okay, so I get on the flight. I try my hardest to just like brush it off. I don't sleep at all. And the thought is just like looming over my head. It's almost like I wish I kind of didn't know that my bag was lost at this point. Like I just wanted to enjoy this first part of the trip, but it was already going so sad for me. And I'd never lost a bag. Mind you, I've never lost a bag before. I don't know how easy it is to locate the bag, but my experience right now is that the guy couldn't locate it. He said it would take 3 minutes and then he actually couldn't find the bag. It was just like, I was very stressed out, okay? Because it wasn't like it just got lost in transit. Like literally it had the wrong tag on it and a child lost it. Like I saw the bag and I saw it being put on the thing and I saw it go and disappear. It was just like the most bizarre experience ever. Okay, sorry, I'm back. Battery died and then dinner was ready, and so now let's continue to the second half of the story. Because that was the first half. That was before we left from Boston to Portugal. So we end up getting to Portugal. I'm coming to terms with the bag. Jack's helping me mentally through the whole thing, etc. We get off the plane and we realize we only have about 45 minutes until the plane takes off. Mind you, we were supposed to be boarding like in 15 minutes, if that makes sense. So we get ushered like through basically to this section where it looks like that's the customs check that the woman had told us about. We see the line and immediately get very nervous. Granted, the line is moving pretty quickly, but not quick enough. So we end up talking to someone on the side and we say we're going to Italy, and they say,
yep, there's a bunch of people in that line, don't worry. We are holding like a group of people at the end so that we can all walk together.
So I'm like, okay, they have a plan, it's good. So we get through and the guy checks our passports, he checks our boarding passes, he looks at us to make sure everything matches and things like that, and then we get through. It's pretty good. Very quick, very checky-ish, etc. Everything's good. I'm gonna insert this part here though, instead of waiting till we get to Italy. That was customs. Let's rewind to when the woman said,
No, you won't have to go through customs in Portugal, so it'll be okay. You go through customs when you get to Italy.
like, okay, so that's just like two things that just red flags in my mind. The bag, the lying about customs, or not knowing enough about customs, like what the actual heck. We get through, there is a group of us, we are ushered through past like gates and things in order to get to our flight, which is pretty small, from Portugal to Italy, and we just have the last leg of our journey, and then we end up getting to Florence, where our journey to Italy ends. It should not come to a surprise to anybody that I go to a baggage claim, I'm waiting, and my bag just never shows up at all. Like, I wasn't surprised, I was hopeful. I was like, the universe somehow knows this is my honeymoon and there's a lot of stuff that I want in that bag and that I need in that bag, but it's okay because I'm just gonna file a thing at the like whatever, it's fine. So I get to the counter and I explain the whole situation, and the woman was really, really helpful. She was very understanding. I'm sure she gets a lot of people like yelling at her and are really angry, but I kind of like knew about it. I was already like, all right, here's the story. They put the bag on, the tag, etc. And at that point, Jack had actually had the brilliant idea. He was like, you've been vlogging the whole thing, show her a picture of the bag. And so I had a picture of it through the footage, thank goodness. She says it's usually about 1 to 2 business days of getting the bag, which I was shocked about. So we end up just forgetting about it. It's gonna be like 1 to 2 business days. I'm still very skeptical. Like in my mind, I just don't want to trust anyone that that bag's not gonna get there. But then I talked to my mom and I talked to my dad, and these things like happen all the time. Like they've had bags lost before and it's always just showed up at their hotel, etc. Except we were staying at Airbnb, so that was kind of a kicker. I would have had to go back to like the airport to get it because I didn't want to send it to like the Airbnb because it was someone's like apartment home and I didn't know like if we would be home, whatever. They didn't have like a concierge, you know. So from the airport, I end up finding a Primark in Italy, which is amazing, and I'm gonna do actually a haul. Not that I was planning to do this haul because I wasn't planning to. I didn't know when the bag was gonna get there, so I ended up getting like 3 to 4 like days of clothes and things, so which I didn't like plan on getting, you know what I'm saying? So it wasn't as exciting at the time, but now I have really cute clothes, so whatever. We get the clothes, we go back, and then literally that night, Cap Portugal emails me saying they found my bag and it is en route to Florence and should be there overnight. And I could not believe it. I was so relieved. Like the amount of stuff in there and cinnamon. Remember, cinnamon, not the spice, the horse. I just couldn't believe it. It was just like a huge relief and everything was gonna be fine throughout the whole thing. Like everything was good now. Everything was back to being on our blissful honeymoon and I was so excited until the trip back. So really when I think about this second sort of part of this story, the piece de resistance, it really only went wrong at one point. Like there was one thing that went wrong, but just like trickled into a million things that went wrong. So stay till the end. I promise you it keeps going. It's the last day. We are in Rome for our last day and we're leaving from the Rome airport to go to Portugal to go back to home. It's just the reverse order of our first part of like the itinerary sort of thing. We get to the Rome airport and unlike last time, I booked this like whole reservation all together. So it truly was one reservation, just 2 different airlines. The first one, I knew they were partner airlines, but I had to book separately for some reason. However, for this one, I booked all in one. So I was going to have Cap Portugal and then the domestic airline all together. I wasn't sure if I had to do the whole like exit the airport thing and like change airlines when that time came, or it would just like go to my final destination because it was all one reservation. So we get to the Rome airport, which is massive and stressful, but like it was fine. It was just like, oh my gosh, there were so many people. And we get up to the Cap Portugal desk and the woman was just like not pleased at all. She was just like hating her life that day, but that's not bad, brush it off, whatever. And we do the bag thing. I'm eyeing those, like I take off all previous tags of my bag. Like that bag is empty and there's no confusion whether that bag is ready to go on the belt or not. So I see the new bag tags and I ask where those are going and she says
Portland, Maine.
Which is, for this sake of the story, we were staying on the East Coast with my parents. That was the last stop of this journey, was Portland, Maine. So I was like, perfect. I don't have to like get them at JFK. I just get them in Portland. It's going all the way through, like fantastic. Great, just one less thing to worry about, you know? So we get on the flight in Rome, completely fine, on time, etc. And the airline is Cap Portugal. All the international flights are Cap Portugal. So we get on, we exit the gate, the plane pulls out from the gate and they're getting ready to go on like the little runway thing, and all of a sudden we stop, which is fine, like that's a normal thing that happens all the time. We were on the runway in a queue to leave for 2 hours. Like we were good. Like our flight from Portugal to JFK, like our flight from Portugal to America, we had plenty of time, but not 2 hours to spare plenty of time. No. So everybody with connections on the flight is asking about like delays or anything like that, and so we raise our hand obviously and we are pretty sure we're not gonna make it, but you never know. So we ask the lady and she looks at her little iPad thing and she goes,
oh, maybe your flight to America will be delayed too.
And another stewardess person comes behind her and he leans down to us and says,
"Flights to America are usually never delayed. You can just see my colleague when you get off the plane and she'll know exactly like where to go and what to do."
In my mind, I'm like, yep, we definitely missed that connection, but I've missed connections in America before and they just put you on the next flight and it's totally fine. So we land, there's 5 minutes before that flight takes off and we're not entirely sure we're gonna make it at this point. We don't even know where our gate is, etc. But we get off the plane, just like they say, and there's a colleague, like right when you get off the plane, who says to see another colleague, who is, by the way, swarmed with people. Like, this person just got all of the people who missed their connections, which turns out there were like 3 different major flight connections that were missed that displaced 30 plus people. It was a mess. And everyone was just like looking out for themselves because this guy had like a stack of tickets. Turns out the tickets already had names on them, so it wasn't like a first come first serve situation, but still it was like, that guy is my ticket to America at this point and I need to get to him and I need to get what I need and I need to get on a flight and I need to go home. Ends up not having a replacement ticket for Jack or I, so us and a few other people, I think it's down to about 20 people at this point actually, follow him to the help desk, where after another 30 minutes of waiting tells us that the next flight available to go home is a full 24 hours later that leaves from Portugal to go home. I'm tired. I wanted a full weekend with my family in Maine before having to go back to work, and I don't have any clothes. I don't have any toiletries. All of them are in my bag, and I don't know what's gonna happen next. I just can't believe this situation. We take our ticket, and then we actually end up getting in line for customer service, which is like a whole other, we waited an hour in that line, by the way, but we get up to a person just to see if we can get on a flight earlier, because my parents said that they would actually come to Boston if we flew to Boston instead of New York. They would come to meet us in Boston if that was available, because we saw online together that there was a flight from Portugal to Boston. So we were like, yep, let's just get to Boston. We'll figure out the bag situation later. We know they can send it wherever we need it to go at this point, and we just want to get home. So after an hour of waiting in the customer service line with people yelling and screaming things in languages that I don't understand, we get up to the person and they cannot put us on the flight to Boston, even though their company screwed up and we are willing to go to a completely different city and just drive the rest of the way. They can't do it because our original flight had a connection. It had 2 flights. The original flight was going from Portugal to JFK to Portland, Maine, but this one would just be direct to Boston. They couldn't do that for us. Reliving it, like my blood is boiling like as much as it was then, so. But it's not over. So we are told that at 7:30 we should meet at a specific gate where we will be given instructions and escorted to a bus that will be taking us to a hotel to stay for the night. And we would be getting dinner, breakfast, like all expenses paid, which is so good. So I was like, everything's looking up. But in my mind, I'm like, how good is the hotel gonna be? Is it gonna be some dingy place? Or do I just like go get my own hotel where I know it's gonna be like clean and everything and then just like try to expense it later on them? But we were told that the hotel that we would be staying at was 4 stars. So I was like, wow, we're gonna get a dinner, we're gonna drink some wine, we're gonna stay in Portugal for the night. We can flip this around. Like, we can make something good out of this. This is gonna be fine. So we meet for the buses, and the process of like checking in and then like us leaving for the buses is pretty quick. It's about 10 minutes from the time that they said that we could meet there. They just had to make sure everyone was there, and then we went to the buses. The bus didn't hold the number of people that they knew they needed to take to the hotel. Thankfully, Jack and I were on the bus at this point. We had seats, but they wouldn't even let people stand in the aisle because that's a safety hazard. But they didn't think of the number of people that they counted and checked to take to the hotel. So we had to sit there and wait for another bus to come so that the rest of the people could be taken to the hotel. What the actual, like what? About 30 to 45 minutes of sitting on the bus later, we see that the other leftover people, those poor souls, are put on another bus and we're ready to go, but then we're just sitting there for about 10 more minutes. And then out of the corner of my eye, because the second bus is to my left, I see these people getting ushered off. They're getting ushered off from the people who are escorting us around and helping us. They're getting escorted off the bus. And all I hear before the lady boards our bus is,
"Yep, wait for me, we're gonna go back to customer service."
I nearly had a heart attack because selfishly, I thought that we were all having to go back to customer service, which is not the case, but I felt so bad for those people. So bad. Like, after everything, like, they had to go back and figure out another, like, oh my gosh. She gets on our bus and tells us two very clear things. I know these things because I had her repeat them to me, so I would know them for sure. The first thing is that we all had meal vouchers. We would get dinner and breakfast, and if we were even at the hotel for lunch tomorrow, if our plane took off later, we would get a voucher for lunch too. Everything on Cap Portugal. The second thing that she told us was, if your flight is leaving in the morning, there will be taxi vouchers waiting for you at the front desk, all paid for by Cap Portugal, and you will get taxis to the airport for your flight if it leaves in the morning. If your flight is later, ours was at 5 p.m. the next day, we were in the later group, there would be one bus coming at 12 o'clock noon to take everybody to the airport. I was good with that. I'd rather have a lot of time before my flight at this point. So let's just keep those things in mind. Cool. We get to the hotel and the dinner is kind of like a buffet style dinner, and it's like, it just wasn't good. Like, I was fairly disappointed in the dinner, and it just tasted really, it just wasn't okay. And like, after a long day, all you want is a nice dinner, but there was wine. Plenty of wine. I had a lot of wine on Cap Portugal, let's just say that. And we get up to the room, and our room reeks of smoke. Like, we're like, no hate to smokers, none. Jack and I just don't smoke, and I hate the smell of it. I just hate the smell of it. And to sleep in somewhere like that is just like, oh my gosh. And like, and the rest of the hotel, it seemed clean, but our room just smelled of smoke. At this point, I honestly was accepting it. I didn't have the energy to call down to change the room. I didn't have the energy to complain. I literally just needed a good night's rest to get ready for my travel day that I thought would have been today. And at this point, we would have been back in the United States. But I had to get ready for a travel day tomorrow. Tomorrow comes, Jack and I find a Zara, and we get another change of clothes because we are nasty at this point. We had a full day of chaos and travel and like plans, etc. So we get a set of clothes. We get clean, showered, we have another crappy meal in the hotel, and then we are ready to be downstairs 20 minutes early for the bus. So we are downstairs at 11:40. The bus is gonna come at 12. We exit outside to wait for the bus because we are not going to be displaced by not being on time for the bus, just in case they didn't plan for the number of people. And we get outside the hotel, and the hotel has 3 stars on the front of it. Something we didn't notice before, but it explains the crappy food and it explains the smoke-filled room. It's just like, if you didn't tell me that it was gonna be 4 stars, I would have expected something, but like, you reassured, like, So we're outside, we're looking around the corner for the bus. Where is it? You know, it's 12. Okay, we'll give them 5 more minutes, 10 more minutes, 20 more. We waited over an hour for that bus that never came. The bus that was supposed to take us to the airport where we had to be on time at 12, we waited over an hour for this bus, and I couldn't handle it anymore. Everyone was asking the poor concierge at the hotel that had no responsibility of this matter. They were just told that the bus would be there at 12. So they were even trying to get in contact with this company to get a bus out there to take us to the airport to make our flight, and they couldn't get in touch or get any news from anyone. At this point, I'm fed up, Jack's fed up. It's time to just take things into our own hands. Like, you can't, at this point, you need to just take control, or else nothing's gonna work out. So Jack and I asked the concierge where the closest ATM was, and we also asked them how much it is for a taxi. They say 10 euros at most to get to the airport, which was the most truthful thing we've heard in 24 hours. So we get to the ATM, we take out money. We don't even go back to the hotel for them to call a taxi for us. Like, when I say take everything into your own hands, it's up to you. We then literally walk from the ATM to the closest main street, and we flag down a taxi. We get in, we get to the airport. We are not depending on anyone else at this point. All we have is our boarding passes that are leaving at 5. We get in a taxi and we get there on time, etc. We get on the plane. There's a slight delay on the tarmac. I have a slight heart attack. I do panic a little bit, but the plane ends up taking off with plenty of time to get to JFK. And by now you're thinking, there couldn't possibly be anything else. No, you've endured enough. You've been lied to enough, and you deserve to get home without anything else happening. Well, spoiler alert, nothing else drastically happened, but just one more thing, just hold on, one more thing. We get to JFK, and that is where we have to go through US Customs. We get through US Customs seamlessly. Literally everything that happened in the US was on time, went smoothly. It's just that Cat Torchical literally followed us for just one more thing. We get to JFK, which is the New York airport for those of you who don't know, and we just have literally 1 more hour leg from JFK to Portland. We have 1 more plane to get on. But remember that one Cat Torchical representative all the way back in Rome that said,
your bags are going to Portland, your end destination, because you booked on 1 reservation.
Remember that lady? We get through customs and I noticed that the exit, like where everyone needs to go, it's not like we made a wrong turn. They're funneling people, everybody, to like this section was baggage claim. Okay, like our bags don't necessarily need to be there. Like they are supposed to be on like a flight going to Portland, but again, taking everything into our own hands. We have a few minutes. Let's just wait a baggage claim for a second. Because it only took 1 second for me to see our bags coming around the corner on that baggage claim belt in New York. JFK, not Portland. Our bags would have stopped in JFK and we would have gone to Portland and not had them again. Because Cap Torchical told us they were going to our end destination. So I take my bag, I take the thing off of it, I take the thing off of Jack's, and I'm like, I guess we just check into our last flight. We go out, we are with the same domestic airline that are partners with these people. We explain the situation. She initially can't find our reservation, which scared me a little bit, but she helps us with everything. She gets our bags, baggage tags, they help us with the whole situation, where exactly to put them. She gives us our new boarding passes that we only have 1 more flight to get home. We get on the flight, it's literally less than an hour. We get to Portland, I see our bags at baggage claim. My mom comes to pick us up from the airport. I put the bags in, and honestly, until this point, until the point of having our bags at our end destination and getting in the car in Maine, in the United States of America, until that point, I was terrified to say, thank goodness we made it, or thank goodness our flight from Portugal is taking off now, or thank goodness we made our connection in JFK, or thank goodness our bags are here. I literally couldn't jinx anything until we were just at, because everything was going wrong. Everything. I honestly can say without a shadow of a doubt in my mind, that was the worst experience, because it was 10 different bad experiences wrapped up into just one company. That is the worst experience that I've ever had with a company that is a service company, that we paid for something in order to get a service, to go somewhere, for them to do something for us, to Italy and from Italy. Literally everything in between went swimmingly. Like everything in between in Italy, between our reservations and like directions and how to get places. I'm not saying there were bumps in the road, but it was nothing compared to that. I'm probably even going to use this video, now that I think about it, as my letter to customer service, so they can just get the full experience of everything that I experienced. Because I am submitting receipts of clothes I had to buy because my bag was lost. I'm submitting receipts of the clothes that we had to get because we didn't have our bags and we missed our connecting flight to get back home. And no, I will not accept vouchers from your company, because I'm 100% never flying you again. Ever. And guys, I honestly, like, I know that story comes across as humorous, but I know that you can feel my pain in it too. But honestly, I've never filed like a letter or even a complaint to a company before, ever. Like, even if something like malfunctions, I'm like, I brush it off. Like, I really don't find it worth it to like complain. Like, I'm not in it for the free stuff at all. I wasn't even going to expense the Primark clothes that I needed to get because they lost my bag, but it was until the way back where I realized everything that has gone wrong had to do with this company. Gosh, I need to let them know that. It was atrocious. It was the worst experience ever. I don't wish that upon anyone else. But thank you guys for listening. I hope you all enjoyed today's story time. If you did, do not forget to give it a big thumbs up because it lets me know that you liked the video. And also, if you are new and have made it all the way to the end of this story, holy crap, kudos to everyone who made it to the end. But if you're new, don't forget to hit the subscribe button on your way out so that we can spend more time together. And that is the end of everything, and I will catch you guys in the next video. See you later, guys. Bye!